Hello everyone, Noel McDavid here. Today we are coming at you with a Toasting Gnorcs and Talking Mental Health special with a very, very dear friend of mine, CrystalFissure.
Hello everyone. Hello everyone. Noel McDavid's friend CrystalFissure here. Nice intro. I love it. I must say, you've got a really, really good presenting voice. Like, I'm only realizing that now when I speak to you, like, you know, when we're doing a video and when we're like not doing a video. It's very, it's radiant, it's calm, it's empathetic, which I'm sure will reflect this this special episode of Toasting Gnorcs. Yeah. So, do you want to go ahead and say what this is about? I guess if you're looking at the title, you kind of already know, but yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah. I keep forgetting that because it's not there yet, but it will be when they're watching this. So, yeah. So today, Mr. Fissure is here. I say that's like actually your real last name. I love it.
It is.
He's here speaking to us about something that, correct me if I'm wrong, he's never opened up publicly about?
No, not at all.
Am I right on that?
Absolutely,
all
yeah.
Right,
This is a Noel McDavid exclusive here.
Special.
Yeah, I tell you. But no, it's an interesting topic because it's one of those topics that, you know, it's like it's one of those things that when you're younger, you know, obviously, you know, you have a lot of perspective, you know, or lack of perspective when you're younger, and you don't realize how bad things were until you actually move past it and realize like all the good things. If you know what I mean, if that sort of sounds cliche, but that's how I'd apply it to school. No. So I may as well. I'll get started. I'll just go. I'll give like a bit of a background, you know. So I've always gone to Catholic schools, like so through. You know, primary school, middle school, and middle school is the big catalyst for, I think, where things went to shit, you know, if I do say, and high school. And so primary school was excellent. Like, it was very close to my house and everything like that. Like, it was, you know, great people, a genuinely really good school in Adelaide, like a fantastic place. And I have so many fond memories. Like, I remember, you know, after like going there, you know, at the time you're like, oh, I can't wait to go to middle school. I can't wait to be like a big boy, you know. And then you get to middle school and it's like, well, actually, I want to go play Spy Fox on the computer and just like mess around for like 6 hours. But unfortunately, you can't. So we had a great group of friends, like a great sort of group of people. It was a co-ed school, so I mean, most of you, like the American audience, you know, like, you know, like I'm actually. So do you have many single-sex schools? No, well, actually,
not in this area that I know of. In Kentucky, maybe, but like as far as the Appalachian area, I don't even know of one. I'm sure there is one.
Yeah.
We do have private schools, religious schools, but they're still both sexes. So
okay, got you. Yeah, so basically the primary school I went to was co-ed, so yeah, both genders. And then when we went from we have like a kind of a prep year called reception. So it was reception 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so in year 6, year 6 was when I was turning, I believe, 11, going into that year. So that was the middle school. And middle school, we actually, like, you know, the first few months and stuff like that were excellent. You know, it's good fun. I've kind of got that excitement of starting, you know, a new school. But it's not until once people get comfortable with each other, I think what happens is you almost get too comfortable. And so I was always someone that was very much into, you know, and this is quite relevant given my friendship with Ando, Unlisted Leaf, you know, massive fan of Pokemon. And one of my closest friends, Luke Heffernan, who I'm still friends with to this day, we became friends because of Pokemon. Now, Luke was always someone that was, I think he, you know, generally had more confidence than me, you know, younger and stuff like that. And he had like a lot of friends. He went to like a bigger primary school, so we had like a lot of people. But what really started, like, I guess, yeah, it's like you'd say bullying, and it definitely was. You know, I definitely was bullied. To a certain extent, it then got worse. But year 6 is where it kind of started, where people started to go, oh, you like Pokemon? That's gay. You know, like that kind. I'm sure you can sympathize with that kind of thing, having interests that are considered, you know, homosexual in nature, obviously. Right, yeah, really gay.
For sure, yeah.
Spyro.
Yep.
gay. Video games, gay. You know, all we were meant to really care about at that age was start to become interested in, you know, women and girls. Fuck, they're girls. They're girls. So it's, you know, not women. Jesus. Girls and sports. And one of the reasons why this really, I think, got kind of, you know, like, what's the word? I think one of the reasons why it got so prominent and it became such a, that was sort of the culture, was because the school that I went to, the middle school, and anyone who's from Adelaide would probably know this school, is that we're a very, very sporty school and a very, what's the word? Very football oriented. So Australian rules football, for anyone that doesn't know, AFL. Very, very football oriented. There are many, many kids that go on to play for the National League, you know, and make, you know, lots of money. In fact, one of my friends in Year 9 is actually playing for the Melbourne Demons, which is a big football club in Australia. So, you know, it's a very, very sporty school. And that was, I think, one of the reasons why people, skewed towards shaming people that were interested in things that they had supposedly grown out of, you know? And and that's what it was like. And so Year 6, you know, like, you know, I'd taken like a Pokemon book to show Hef or something, to show Luke, and people would just like make fun of it and sort of take it and just do stupid shit and go, oh, that's gay, that's retarded, you know, like all that kind of stuff. And that just sort of made you not want to engage, you know, with anyone, and not want to you know, not want to share what you're interested in, and you kind of had to pretend, you know. All the while there was a teacher, and I'll publicly say his name because I think he's an absolute scumbag. His name was Paul Sandico, and he was essentially a failed football player that never made it to the main league, and he basically took out sort of revenge fantasies on kids, and used to so Ando actually had this guy's class in Year 6. He was in his homeroom, and what he used to do and I didn't. All right, so as I was saying, sorry, you don't want to know what happened there, the microphone. Hopefully it was on camera because it did drop. Anyway, so basically, I didn't realize this until later, but what would happen is this guy, Mr. Sandico, would intentionally pick kids that he knew were like sporty, you know, in his year level, and what he'd heard from like other schools and stuff like that. And basically, he would always get the jocks in his class. And so anyone that wasn't a jock, right, would be actually harassed by him. So like, you'd have people that were like, you know, that were not sporty at all, and he would just let the sporty kids bully the non-sporty kids. So this isn't something that directly happened to me, but I just thought it's still relevant to bring up because I just find that behavior just abhorrent. I mean, we're dealing with 10-year-olds here, you know, like we're dealing with 10, 11, 12-year-old kids, and that's the way that that this guy is treating kids. So it went on, and you know, people, you know, would harass people for being interested in certain stuff, but that it wasn't truly bad. It wasn't stuff that I'd go home upset, blah blah blah, like miserable sort of stuff. It wasn't really until Year 8 where that happened, where we had a class that was very cliquey. I actually did have Hef in my class at the time, but we considered one of the nerdier kids in class, and yeah, you know, what would happen is the same thing, but it would really start to extend. Like, you would have people that were constantly, you know, calling you names and trying to rile you up, you know, like, I remember that was when I sort of got interested in, like, Mac computers, like, I sort of, you know, you know, funnily enough, became more nerdy as it went on, you know, so it's like, I guess victim blaming, it's my own fault for daring to be interested in computers, I guess, but, you know, like, that was how it was. And people would rile me up about that, and you know, there'd be like whole, you know, like half the class, you know, just like going on about stuff, trying to rile me up in front of the teachers, and the teachers just did not give a shit, you know, like they just like sorely ridiculous. This teacher, like this old guy who's like worshipped, and like now I've actually seen him outside of school, and he is a good guy, right? He is a good guy, but as a teacher, he's just fucking like, he just did not care enough, you know. He let you know, wild stuff sort of go on, you know, because he didn't want to discipline anyone, you know, like he got angry about 2 times a year, you know. So it's really a failure on the school as well, you know, for letting that kind of behavior go. And I don't believe I don't really believe in absolving someone because of their age primarily. right? Like, I'm not saying that, you know, what you do as 13 at 13 represents who you are now, because some of these people that were harassing me, I am now friends with, and I do actually like them, and they're actually good people. But it shouldn't just be forgiven, you know? It shouldn't just be like, oh, you know, you treated me this way. You know, that's okay. Like, I remember I remember a kid, in jumping ahead slightly, but in year 9 there was one kid who I now really actually like. He's like actually probably one of my friends, and he's a good dude. He, in the years after school, has probably apologized to me maybe 20 times, you know, for the way that he treated me in year 9, you know, like trying to, you know, harass me and trying to, you know, do all this sort of stuff and try to piss me off in front of people and all that kind of stuff. You know, like all that kind of stuff. You know, it was great. You know, it's great to see that there are people that are like, you know, that they do have guilt for the way they treat people even when they are younger, which I think takes a lot to admit, because I think a lot of people wouldn't do that. You know. I think of some other examples. I think it really was the catalyst as well for me starting my YouTube channel, I reckon. And one of the reasons why I was so into wikis as a kid, like editing wikis, because it's like, it was just sort of a good escape, you know, like doing videos and starting to make an account and stuff. You know, upload the soundtracks, you know, upload the Spyro soundtracks, which is what I initially did. That was kind of like, it's kind of like an escape from school. Didn't have to think about school, didn't have to think about people. You know, as I've mentioned to you briefly, you know, I was by one kid who was just an absolutely absolute tosser. You know, he sexually harassed me, you know what I mean? Like that's to the extent that it got, you know, like he would grab me and you know, try and fuck around, you know, under the pretense of, oh, it's just a joke, you know, oh, I'm just fucking with you, oh, it's just the bros, what they do, you know, that kind of thing. And as like a brief side note, I don't want to make it seem like this was just an all boys thing, because I know that some people may be thinking, oh, gee, man, you leave boys together, it's horrific. Our counter school, kind of our sister school, that had all the girls, I was friends with some of the girls there, they had stuff that was equally fucked, if worse. So it's definitely it's like, you know, it's interesting. It's like people, you know, like a lot of people, you know, you get that kind of discourse like, oh, how good would it be if there were no men, or how good would it be if there were no women? I can say for a fact that having it be all boys was objectively worse than if we had girls at our school. It just encouraged people to be more mean and more disrespectful. And yes, you're not showing off in front of girls, but it's just, I just think it's very toxic. It's just very toxic. And the girls said the same thing. Like the girls that I was friends with said the same thing. Like, why did it have to be all girls? Like, it was so bitchy and blah blah blah. You know, so it's definitely both sides of the coin there. You know, like it's not just a man thing. It's not just a woman thing. It really is just. I think it's just a puberty thing. You know, like believe it or not. That
time in lives, it's always the worst. Like anytime I hear stories about bullying from people, it's almost always middle school. Like,
I'm pretty sure Alice had said similar stuff, or alluded to similar stuff. The Alice Clark on YouTube, Alice Theru11 on YouTube, shout out. She had said similar stuff. And I think that. Yeah, you know, at the time, I would kind of like treat it as, I mean, I was upset about it, but I'd kind of almost treat it like, yeah, it's just the way it is. But it's not until you move on and you realize, you're like, well, no, that's just not okay. Like, that, you know, people should not be attacked for being interested in something different to them. You know, why do I have to be obligated to be interested in like sports or something non-nerdy and not care about Spyro or Pokemon or games, you know? And so when it really changed though was, you know, I think over that gap when we all went to the high school, and then it went back with girls. And then all of a sudden, my YouTube channel almost became celebrated among the year level. It was like mocked. I hated people finding out about my YouTube channel. I hated it when like anyone did anything that, you know, they'd make fun of it and blah, blah, blah. Like, oh, what's this nerd shit, you know? But when you got to high school, it was all of a sudden like kind of cool. You know what I mean? Like it's very interesting. It's like it changed. It's like the perspective changed. And so I ended up becoming like kind of like worshipped by the boarders of our year, which is like boarding school kids. They absolutely loved CrystalFissure, and like at first it started out kind of ironic, but then I ended up being like one of the only kids that was ever allowed to hang in their section. Like they kind of had their own section, and it was it was such good memories. Like if you go on my Facebook, there's old photos of me with them and everything. It's fantastic. Like it's such fond memories, and it was kind of the inverse, and that's what kind of made me realize like, wow, yeah, like this is what it's like to be not treated like shit for being interested in like stuff that isn't considered cool. You know, and hey, now Spyro is cool, so I guess who wins in the end, you know?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I mean, everyone, you go on Facebook,
over.
how many people are nostalgic about Spyro and like Crash and all that kind of stuff? All those same people that like shat on me for being interested in it, and now like watching my live streams, you know, like so it's quite, I guess. Maybe this wasn't, you know, looking at it like this isn't like as super, you know, deep as some of the other episodes with some of the struggles that they've had, you know, like some of the stuff you've talked about. But I think it's still good to know that, yeah, you know, you don't have to. I don't personally, luckily, I don't suffer from I don't live through mental illness like some of the people like yourself and some of the people you've had on the channel, but I still think it's still relevant to bring up to realize that, you know, if you were someone that went to school and were mocked for the interests you have, don't accept that. Don't go, well, you know, that's just the way it was. You've got to say, no, that's absolutely not right. And you shouldn't accept it, and you know, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's I guess that's it. That's what it comes down to. So I guess I kind of want to ask you actually. Can you resonate with that like at school growing up, or what was it like for you growing up in school?
So honestly, this is interesting because I don't really get to talk about my elementary school experience much, which is the only experience I have in school because I was homeschooled from middle school on. But hold up, that's a big one. Okay, we can save that for another episode. Holy shit. Yeah, I was. Oh yeah, I guess I haven't told you that, huh?
That's huge. That's huge. We're getting the scoops on this episode, friends. This is...
Yeah, I don't think I've talked about that on my channel yet. I don't believe I have, So, I was, but I went to a private school until then. It was a Christian school.
Okay, same.
And it was very small. Very small. At one point, my class only had 5 kids in it, like that
No
small.
way.
Yeah. So, so that being said, it was very tight-knit, and, honestly, for the most part, I did have a very good experience. The only time I had trouble really was like, well, 3rd and 4th grade, I guess. Both, there was a little bit of issues, but it was more so like my problem was I was always caught between. So like there would be, let's just say theoretically, because it was such a small school that it'll be kind of painfully obvious who I'm talking about. But there'd be one girl who wanted me to be her friend and like not someone else's friend, so, but I would get bullied if I talked to the nice girl type thing. So I was still getting bullied even though the other girl was getting bullied more. So like I felt caught all the time because I either had to choose to like, you know, put up with being bullied because I wanted to be nice to this person because I liked this person, or you know, be rude to someone I cared about just to keep from getting bullied. And I remember at one point, I'm not even kidding, in 3rd grade, it may have even been 2nd grade, because the way that my memory works, the school was at one location and then it was in another location in 4th grade. So I get grade 2 and 3 kind of confused. But this girl got me by the shirt sleeve and she put me up against the wall, okay? And the person that was watching us at the time, it wasn't a teacher, it was like a recess type area, she had her back turned, okay? So like the girl has me up, like literally I'm picked up and she's got me pushed against the wall, threatening me, telling me not to talk to my best friend. The best part about this is that the girl that she didn't want me to talk to is my #1 lifelong best friend I've had since kindergarten, and we're still just as close, so that's pretty cool.
Awesome.
But yeah, she had me up against the wall and was mad at me for talking to her and was threatening me, saying like, if you talk to her again, that's it, like type thing.
That's it. I can't believe that kind of behavior happened that young. That's really,
yeah,
that's
it was interesting, and I never told anybody because I was really big on like not. I hated confrontation. I still hate confrontation. Whereas now, even though I'm like barely 80 pounds, I'd be like, bitch, put me down. Like, what do you think you're doing? You know. But back then, I was
Cash
just
me
like,
outside. How about that? Yeah. To bring up a brief. Anyway, yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so that's the biggest experience I have with bullying. That, and in 4th grade, these 2 girls like thought it would be funny to like. So it's the same girl actually. She was like, and this is pathetic, but she. I was like the only girl at that age that had like started my period, and I guess she figured it out because of how many times I had to go home sick like around the same time because I was hurting so bad. And she was like, if you don't let me unhook your bra, I'm not even kidding you. I'm not even kidding you. She's like, I'll tell everybody that you started your period. And I like argued with her for like the longest time, and then finally, like, we were at the computer, so we were in front of everybody, and she was trying to embarrass me by like unhooking my bra, which is weird. That sounds almost like sexual harassment type stuff, really, if you think about it.
It is, yeah.
But yeah, so she did it, and I went straight, like, I basically like held it on to keep it from falling off. I went straight to the bathroom to rehook it, and I just remember being like so embarrassed. But for some reason, like, the idea of people knowing I started my period just bothered me so bad that for some reason it was worth that awkward bra. Like, the bra was better than the period for some reason. I don't know. It was silly because like now I'm tweeting about my period every time it comes, like, God kill me, I want to die.
yeah. And that's exactly, it's when you're young, you're told to be embarrassed about all of this stuff that you shouldn't be. It's like, it's like the same thing. So it's like, you know, similar. So, you know, why should I be embarrassed about you know, being interested in what I'm interested? Why does it matter if everyone else cares? Because of the mob mentality and everyone gangs up on you. That's why. That's what it comes down to. It's not that we don't want, it's not that we want to be ashamed of it, but it's almost that we're like forced to be ashamed. And I'm sure that there's plenty of stuff, you know, to do with your sexuality that comes down to that as well. But you know, but you can apply it to school bullying. You know, I guess when you think about it, in terms of school experiences, especially, you know, I've heard about American school experiences are probably worse, you know, like than Australian. From like some of the stories I've heard, I've never heard happen in Australia. You know, I know 13 Reasons Why, and however controversial that show is, does base a lot of its stuff on real life events. Like the particular one of the rape scenes of that is just like that to this day. Oh, that was one of the most fucked things I've ever seen. But yeah, point is, like, American schools, you know, are pretty bad. I think that you probably dodged a bit of a bullet, you know, not going to high school, or, you know, because some of the stuff I've heard from Americans about high school and stuff like that. Luckily for me, high school was basically the opposite, where it was like high school was actually pretty decent from a social perspective, but middle school was just the worst. And luckily for me, I actually went away when my voice basically dropped. So it's like so funny, if you go on my old channel, if you go on my channel, you see like pre-holiday, it's like I'm like super high pitched, and then post-holiday, I'm like I've come back, like not as deep as this obviously, but like I've come back with my voice drop. So that would have saved a bit of harassment as well, because people were getting harassed by that. Anything that you could get harassed about at middle school, it would happen. That's what, you know, anything at all. Like,
if you had acne, if you
and again,
were gothic, if
I was very lucky. You know, I didn't have acne, I didn't have all this stuff. So some people may be looking at this with their experience and going, "Gee, man, you had it pretty good." And I guess to an extent, I guess you could say yes, you know, but it is something that I don't think, no matter how severe bullying is, you shouldn't just be like, well, that's just the way it's going to be. You know, like that's you know, it does not matter at all. Whether you were like, you know, you know. Luckily for me, in terms of sexual harassment, I told the teachers about that actually, and basically, I think he just had a talk to the guy, and then he never really did it again. But it's just like it's just like the fact that doesn't even result in a suspension, or it doesn't result. What the fuck, like. How does that even?
And I almost wonder if that's a gender thing too, where they're like whereas if it were a guy doing it to a girl, maybe he would have got a stricter punishment. Which is very messed up.
Yeah, I agree with that. You know what my feelings about that? I am 100% one of those people that is like, like rape or sexual assault is sexual assault no matter who does it to who. I cannot stand the idea that like just because there's no penetration that doesn't make it rape or assault.
Right.
It's just that to me that's one of my biggest like things that just horrifies me when you see that discourse going around. But like in the UK, I mean it's a whole other topic in general, but in the UK, literally rape, it is the definition of rape is it has to be like basically male and female penetration, basically, or male and male. Like
that's so messed up.
Basically, a woman cannot rape a man in the UK, and that's just a whole other topic in general. But that just horrifies me.
Oh yeah, that is horrific.
Yeah, but I guess the point is, I guess to sort of wrap it up, is that I guess to make it positive, like look at how I guess both of us turned out today. I know that sort of sounds very arrogant, but it's like I ended up making. I mean, look at me, look at me.
Look at me. Yeah.
But it's true. Look at how I was able to take my interests and take it to a greater level, that I wanted to, be able to, entertain people or bore people, or depending on who talks. I was able to take my interest and essentially make money from it and be passionate about it on a bigger scale. And and I guess you can say about some of these kids that were such disgusting about the way that they would harass people and try and rile me up and stuff like that. That was very argumentative. What are they doing now? Like they either tried to get into the AFL, the football league, didn't. Now they're like seventh year of uni. Miserable. It's like you hate to play the whole I win thing, but I really do like to think that at least with some of the kids in that I still don't like, I win in the end.
Absolutely.
And people say, you shouldn't look at it like that, like winning and losing, but I think, you can look at it like that. I'm proud that I'm interested in nerdy things and
me too.
And look, if I wasn't, I wouldn't have met all of you and everyone else and the tournament and all that kind of stuff. I think like if I had to pretend who I was, right, and just pretend to be just a sports guy or something like that, I would be I'd be so bored. Having to repress my interests, I guess. I know that sounds
exactly.
But God, it'd be horrible. It'd be absolutely horrible.
It's kind of the like from my end, what I was thinking right before we did this is like on my side of the mental health, it's just wild to me because this time last year, I was watching you to help me like deal with my mental health, and now I'm sitting here talking to you about your mental health, and I just think that that's like, wow, like that's cool,
Yeah,
like,
exactly. No, it is. It's great, and I'm glad to open up about things like that. I'm glad, I am very lucky that I luckily, for the most part, nothing too bad came of it. I was able. Good. But I think that if the situation had gotten any worse, I think that I think there could have been a big, there could have been a problem. Not to say that mental health is some kind of thing that's like, you know what I mean. Like I don't want to blame anyone. Obviously, of course not. Like it's. But I am glad that I was able to get through it. Like I was able to get through it, and it didn't turn into anything deeper. But I think to an extent as well, it did turn into something slightly deeper because I hadn't said anything about it for years. I just sort of brushed it aside.
And there's a reason for that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And had you been someone who maybe genetically, because some mental health stuff is inherited, if you had been prone to suicide or depression and went through that, it could have been even more worse. And I think that's kind of the point of what you're saying is like, each individual experience, like things like that may not set one person over the edge can absolutely set another, just depending on
That's right, exactly. And so I think about rather than this being like something where I'm going to get comments saying, I'm so sorry, blah 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 blah, I'm not doing it for sympathy. It's more an awareness thing, because I'm more thinking, if you really think about it, it's more about, well, what if I was someone with a history of mental illness, or what if I was a history of someone in the family with mental illness? Could this have escalated if it was someone other than me? And the answer is, yes. When you have people at the age of 13 killing themselves over school bullying, absolutely, this kind of thing is is happening, and there are people that are, and I wouldn't say less strong than me. I wouldn't say that is anything about strength, but it is literally, it is literally how everyone's been, it was made differently, and you know, predisposed to that kind of behavior, and there's like terms here that I'm not actually. I mean, this shows that I haven't done enough psychology. But like, you know, there's obviously there's words for what I'm trying to say here. But basically, you know, everyone's different, and yeah, it can and has ended worse for people that have been treated similarly. I'm just glad that I guess it all worked out. But for some people, the victims of this, it doesn't work out. People can't handle it, and that's just horrifying to think about, and it really makes you think that, like, you know, if you are someone, if you're watching this as a younger person and you give someone shit all the time, and there's a difference as well. I know that we've got to wrap this up, but there's a difference between giving someone shit, especially when you're older, right? Like, you know, like, I mean, I ripped the absolute piss into Angus and my friends and stuff like that. We absolutely roast. Gave me hell. Yeah, we roast the hell out of each other. But there's a difference. There's a comfortability, and there's an implication that you know that it's just a joke. You know, and even if it's not just a joke and you are being harsh, like, you know, you can explain that. You know, it's hard to explain, but yes, there is a culture, especially in Australia and UK, Ireland and stuff like that. There is like a culture of taking the piss, and I think that is okay. But if someone is genuinely offended by it, and it really is like bad, then you've got to have the discussion, like, is that appropriate? You know, that's all it comes down. And it's not about safe spaces. It's absolutely not saying, oh, you need a safe space, blah blah blah. That kind of stuff that, you know, you get heard about with unis and stuff like that. No, I'm all for encouraging people to be challenged in their views and opinions and stuff like that. But yeah, you've got to know, you've got to find it, you've got to have a balance, I think. Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, this has been wonderful. I have had, well, wonderful as in speaking to you, not, you know, bullying. Bullying is great. Obviously. Bullying is bad. We don't like bullying. Absolutely. Did you drop your mic again, Fissure? No, I didn't. Am I here? Hello? Okay, yeah. Well, it literally cut out, and it sounded just like it did when the mic fell, and I was like... I'm scared now. He's exiting out dramatically, then we're gonna have some issues. Got my platform. No, I'm out of here. It's really awesome getting to talk to you about this. I'm so glad that we both kind of got to open up about things that we don't normally talk about, and learn things about each other that we didn't know, I believe. So, yeah, well, cool. Exactly. Bloody hell, homeschooled. No, well, that's going to be a whole topic. That's going to be. Okay, now you may not be here. I can't hear you. Okay, I definitely am here. You can. Yeah. This is gonna be fun to edit. Yeah. All right. Well. I still can't hear you. Can you hear me now? No. Where'd you go? No. I miss you so. You know that Fort Minor song? Yeah. I still can't hear you. So. Oh, there you are. Hello. Hello. Could you hear me doing that? I could hear you, and we're keeping that in. We're keeping that in the audio. That's gonna be great. All right, it's gonna be a cluster fuck of editing, but that's okay. A cluster fuck. Oh yeah, and you have to edit my video. Huh? Damn. Well, I've got your password now. Well, you probably should change it or something. But yeah, it's all good. This will be like what the Ratchet Angus fiasco of whatever. Yes. Oh my god, that's a great reference. All right. Hey, yeah, I feel like a real bro now. I actually know some of the old references. Yeah. I guess we should actually wrap this up if you don't decide to disappear on me. So let's try that. Okay. All right, gals and pals. I'll leave it to you. Yes. So thanks for watching, gals and pals, and I hope to see you in the next episode. Thank you for joining us, Fissure. You're welcome. See you next time. Catch you later. Bye. Catch ya.